Hey closers, Chris Linsell here for theclose.com, ready to share with you the 10 secret strategies that I learned as a professional test prepper that will help you ace your real estate exam on the first try. Let's go. Guys, let's be honest. Very few of us actually enjoy taking tests. In fact, most people hate it. Tests make people feel nervous, anxious. You can forget all the things that you've learned. You can make silly mistakes that cost you valuable points. And ultimately, all of that might result in you not actually passing your test, which means you got to do the whole thing again. And nobody wants that. But lucky for you, you're not going to be in that boat, because I'm going to share with you 10 secret strategies that I learned, that I gathered in the trenches as a senior instructor for one of the largest test prep companies in the entire world. And these strategies are going to help you crush your real estate exam on the first go. But before we jump in, guys, if you're new to the channel here, make sure you like this video and hit subscribe. It really helps out the channel a ton, and with all the new real estate content we're planning right now, you're going to want to stay in the loop. Also, if you're looking for some material to help you prep for your real estate exam, or if you still need to take your pre-licensing class, I've got a coupon for Real Estate Express that you definitely need to use. It gets you 25% off of your services with Real Estate Express, which are already a really great deal. So when you go to their website, which we've got in the description of this video, make sure you use the code REAgentSuccess25. Gets you 25% off. Again, REAgentSuccess25. We've got it in the description of this video. Follow the link. You can really save some bucks there. Okay, let's dive in. Strategy number 1, study for the test. I know, it sounds pretty intuitive, but guess what? Most people don't actually study for the real estate licensing exam. They think, I passed my pre-licensing class, that should be enough for the test, right? It's not. You may have aced your pre-licensing class, but the test is a different animal, especially if you did somewhat of a self-guided curriculum for your pre-licensing class. The testing is a different environment, and the questions look and feel different than what you saw in your class. So make sure you are spending some time studying. A lot of pre-licensing classes offer test prep as a part of their curriculum. Real Estate Express certainly does, so make sure to check that out. Go through that whole curriculum, do the practice tests, but also make sure that you are spending some extra time on 4 major buckets. The first bucket is real estate math. This is stuff like figuring out square footage, figuring out acreage, figuring out commissions via commission percentages, that sort of thing. Real estate math is definitely going to be on this test, and so if you're not up to snuff on how to make this happen, make sure you practice it. You are allowed a calculator on this test, but you can't use one on your phone. So practice doing these formulas with a standard non-connected calculator that you're actually allowed in the test. Bucket number 2 you need to study is ownership stuff. Sounds a little boring. Guess what? It kind of is. But you need to know these facts. Things like tenancy in common, sole ownership, trust ownership. These are all legal aspects of the real estate business that you need to make sure you're up on, because you're definitely going to be tested on it. Bucket number 3 for your study is fair housing. Especially right now, fair housing has been on the lips of a lot of people's mouths through conversation, and it's definitely a part of the real estate conversation. You're going to see upwards of 10 or 15% of the questions on the real estate licensing exam will have something to do with fair housing. So make sure you are studying fair housing. And then last, but certainly not least, make sure you give that Code of Ethics from the National Association of Realtors a look, because that Code of Ethics is going to contain a lot of stuff. Ethical questions are going to be based on information you're going to find there. So ethics, fair housing, ownership, and real estate math, these are all very important buckets for our first strategy, which is study. Strategy number 2, start physically preparing for your test 24 hours before it actually begins. Look, guys, let me ask you a question. How many times have you said, man, I got a really important day tomorrow. I better go to bed early. And how many times after saying that did you like, well, you know what, I'm just going to catch one more episode of The Office, or, I'm going to have just one more glass of wine. That sounds good tonight. I'm celebrating. I got a big day tomorrow. I got to relax and prepare my mind. Guess what? That's not the way that you relax and prepare your mind. You relax and prepare your mind for a big test like the real estate exam by being intentional about your preparation. Have a good, nutritious meal the night before. Something that's going to sit well in your stomach. Something that you're not going to have to get up and take an antacid for in the middle of the night. Speaking of the middle of the night, get some good sleep. Set aside a reasonable human amount of sleep. Don't plan on going to your real estate test on less than 8 hours of sleep. Go on 8 hours of sleep. And you know what? If you don't sleep because you're nervous, at least you're laying down. Don't handicap yourself with 3 hours of rest. Also, make sure that you know your travel plan before you are supposed to leave for the testing site. I can't tell you how many people, at least one person a year says, I did all this prep for my test and then I was too late to get to the site and I couldn't take it. I had to reschedule it. That's such a silly reason to not succeed. Don't let that happen to you. Strategy number 3, know the testing process. Now, exams like the real estate licensing exam are pretty big deals. They're highly regulated. States have really specific rules about how the test can be administered. So make sure you know those rules before you get to the testing center. It's going to give you an advantage. For instance, in my state, Michigan, you're not allowed to take anything into the testing center. This includes keys and wallets. Some testing centers actually have little lockers that you can put things in, but some of them don't. Some of them, you need to leave that stuff in the car, or you need to make another plan on this sort of thing. So know your testing process so you're not surprised when you get there the day of. All of those little surprises at the end, they throw our game off. Don't be one of those people. Don't let your game get thrown off by something you could have prepared for. Strategy number 3 was know your testing process. Strategy number 4. Now we're really getting into the test here, guys. So far, those first 3 strategies, they're all about getting you to the test. Now we're in the test. Strategy number 4 is answer every question. Look, the real estate licensing exam is a multiple choice question. It's either paper-based or computer-based, usually computer-based now. And to get to the end of the test, you don't have to answer every question. You can hit submit after answering none of the questions. Obviously, that would be a silly move, but you could if you wanted to. You have to answer every question. And here's why. There's no penalty for wrong answers on this test. If you just went through and you selected A for every single question, if there were 4 answer choices, you're going to get approximately 25% of the questions correct. If you leave questions blank because you don't know them, or maybe you run out of time, you are surrendering points that you could have just gotten by dumb luck. So answer every single question. Make sure that if you are skipping a question and moving on, you come back, because otherwise you're leaving points on the table, and we don't want that. Strategy number 5 goes with our strategy number 4, but number 5 is answer the easy questions first. Now, you might be asking, Chris, this sounds like hogwash. Why would I do this? Well, let me tell you. Every question on the real estate licensing exam is worth the same amount of credit. Let's just say points, just for the sake of conversation here. Every question is worth 1 point. The hardest question on the test is worth 1 point. The absolute easiest question on the test is worth 1 point. Now, let's also remember that this is a timed test. Let's say that you are getting to the end of the time window and you're realizing, I haven't looked at the last 20 questions on this test. Of those last 20 questions, which ones are you going to want to answer first? The easiest ones, because these are questions you know you can get some credit for. If you have to guess on a question, wouldn't you rather be guessing on the hardest ones, the ones you don't have a great shot at getting correct anyway? If you don't answer the easy questions first, you are sacrificing your ability to get guaranteed points. So answer the easy questions first. If you don't know the answer to something, make sure you make a note of it and move on. Get through the whole test and answer all the questions that you know the answers to. That way, you'll guarantee yourself points on the questions that you're confident on. All right, strategy number 6. This one, oh boy, I really like this one. I hope you guys like it too. Identify question types. Now, this sounds pretty nerdy, and I'll be the first to admit I'm a nerd when it comes to this sort of thing. But standardized tests have forms and functions that you can start to identify. Question types are things that help you get clues on what the sorts of answers might be. For instance, you remember those 4 categories I told you to study earlier? Real estate math, ownership, fair housing, ethics. These are all question types. If you've got a real estate math question, you can say immediately, okay, I'm dealing with math. I'm going to need my calculator. Here are the formulas I remember. I remember how to calculate square footage. I remember how to calculate acreage. I remember how to calculate my commission percentage. These are all things that if you can identify the question type first, it puts you in the mindset to more likely answer the question correctly. Same with ownership, same with fair housing, same with ethics. Identifying question types helps you unlock all of the potential from the studying that you did. So make sure, as if you're struggling with a question, ask yourself first, what kind of question is this? What kind of information, what type of question is this? What is it looking for from me? It might just help you get to the right answer. Strategy number 7. Keep track of the number of questions you are confident you answered correctly. Now, if you remember back when I said one strategy you need to be using here is answer the easy questions first, that is a strategy that helps you make sure you get to the end of the test and make sure you get as many points on the outset as you can. This strategy, keeping track of the number of questions that you're confident you answered correctly, goes hand in hand with that, but this one is more to build your confidence. Now, bear with me here. When you sign up for the real estate licensing exam, you know that there is a certain threshold that they consider a passing grade. It's right in the documentation when you sign up. For most states, it's somewhere between a 70 and an 80%, and above is considered a passing score. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, there's 100 questions on your test. If your passing threshold is 70%, that means you got to answer at least 70 of those questions correctly. If you go through this test and you answer all the questions that you know you can get right off the bat, and you come up with 60 questions, you know that of the remaining 40, all you have to do is get 10 of them right in order to pass. Remember, there is no extra credit here. If you get 100% on this test, you get the same screen or rubber stamp from the person at the front desk than if you answered 71 of these questions correctly. It doesn't matter whether or not you get a 71% or a 100%. As long as you pass that threshold, you are a licensed real estate agent. So, keeping all this in mind, if you track the number of questions you're confident you get correct, you're going to set your mind at ease for the questions that you are not so sure about. Because if you go into that remaining 40 saying, all I got to get is 10 of these right and I win, it's going to make you feel a heck of a lot better, and it's going to lower those anxiety levels, which is going to help you remember all that hard work you did when you studied. Strategy number 8. When you don't know the answer to a question, start by eliminating answer choices that you know are wrong. Guys, let's think about this for just a second. When you're taking a standardized test, think back to when you were in high school or middle school. Oftentimes, those standardized tests contained a question that had actually multiple questions. In fact, almost all the questions, they had answer choices that you knew you could identify as being completely incorrect. If you did some sort of studying, you knew you could eliminate a particular answer choice of a question. That can be a powerful strategy, because when you combine that with the other strategies that we're talking about here, all of a sudden, Let's say, remember, we went through the test, we answered the ones we knew we could get right first. That got us 60 of our 70 right answers. And then we're looking at the remaining 40 questions. We knew if we just guessed on the remaining 40, chances are we're going to get 25% of those correct. But that leaves us with no margin for error, right? Statistics would really need to come through for us to get us those 10. But if we could eliminate a wrong answer on the answer choices for those remaining questions, you're almost exactly guaranteed a passing grade if you can go from guessing out of 1 out of 4 to guessing out of 1 out of 3. So be thoughtful about eliminating answer choices you know are wrong. It's going to make your guessing easier, and it's going to allow you to play the numbers game to get you to that passing grade. Almost there. Strategy number 9. When you don't know the answer to a question, look for the answer choice that isn't like the others. Okay, we're really digging in on the answer choice strategies here, but these are powerful, guys. These are the sorts of things most people don't know about, and I'm going to tell you about it. Just like there are answer choices that you can easily identify as wrong, there are often answer choices that you can identify as unlike all of the others. And here's why. In order for a multiple choice answer to be correct, it usually has to meet multiple criteria. Right? So I'll give you an example of this. Let's say you've got a question about, how about tenancy and ownership? If the question is asking you to choose a particular scenario that maybe meets the question, like asking you to describe tenancy in common, for instance. The answer choice has to meet multiple sets of criteria in order to be correct. But an answer choice to be incorrect only has to meet a single set of criteria. Just one little piece of the answer has to be wrong in order for it to be considered a wrong answer. Therefore, right answers often take the form of a little bit longer answer choice. The text is a little bit more involved. It's not always that way, but often it is. The right answer tends to be a smidge longer because it has to be more detailed in its explanation. This is one of those flaws in multiple choice tests that you as a test taker can exploit. If it really comes down to it, you're really not sure between 1 or 2 answers, take a look at how long they are. Take a look at how detailed they are. Chances are the more detailed one is correct. And last but not least, strategy number 10, look for clues to questions you don't know in other questions. Believe it or not, this happens on just about every real estate licensing exam I've seen. There has been one question, usually earlier in the test, that asks something specific. Real estate math is a great place for this. Did you know you can't go into the real estate licensing exam with all of your formulas written down? You can't go in with the formula for calculating square footage in a home. You can't go in with the number of square feet in an acre, written on a note card. So if you've got a question that's asking you about those sorts of things and you can't recall it, you're going to have a hard time answering it. But if it's asking for that question early in the test, it has happened every exam that I've ever seen. Later in the test, there's a clue somewhere. It might mention the actual answer you're looking for in the question stem of a later question. And this allows savvy, thoughtful, conscious test takers to be like, hey, I remember that. I had a question about that earlier. They're establishing it as true in this question. I can go back and look and see if the new information that I have gives me an answer choice later on. Use these questions together. This is, again, another flaw in multiple choice test design. It's really difficult to design completely independent questions, especially when you've got a test that's, over 100 questions long. Eventually, you're going to have questions that have some sort of interlinking, and a good test taker is going to find advantage there. Well, that's it. My 10 secret strategies for acing your real estate licensing exam. Thanks for watching, closers. With these strategies, I know you are going to crush your exam. But I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments what your biggest struggle is when it comes to standardized tests. Maybe with this test. Have you taken it before? Are you having trouble passing it? What's your biggest struggle? How are you dealing with it? How can I help? Drop a question in the comment. I will get back to you, I promise. Also, make sure that you check out in the description that link to Real Estate Express and use our 25% coupon code to save a little bit, save a few bucks on your purchase. We've also got a link down there to an article that I wrote on the close about the real estate licensing exam. And I've even got some mini practice tests right in the article. So if you're looking for questions that you can practice on, go check that out too. Don't forget, like this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you and we can be in sync whenever we've got some new content perfect for upping your real estate game. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.